Part 3, the Freedom Memorial, Emancipation Monument, as it represents the freedom of one's own deliverance. An excerpt from Fredrick Douglass, the Prophet of Freedom, David W. Bly. Douglass, in his speech, employed a stunning level of directness for such a ceremonial occasion. He did not merely turn his moment in the national sun into a reminiscence about a good war and glorious outcomes. Lincoln's growth to greatness into the role of emancipator, he insisted, must first be seen through the disappointments of the first year in office. Douglass would not consider the triumphal memory of 1865 without first pulling his audience through the pain of 1861. Douglass' secession crisis into 1862. He remembered Lincoln had promised to support all constitutional protections of slavery in the southern states. He was willing to pursue, recapture, and send back the fugitive slave to his master, a position Douglass had utterly condemned during the crisis. The former abolitionists forgot nothing of Lincoln's record on race and slavery, especially the episode in 1862, when in a meeting with the 5 black ministers at the White House, the president strangely told us that we were to leave the land in which we were born. When he told us he would save the Union with slavery, he refused to retaliate our murder and torture as colored soldiers. The litany of Lincoln's sins against the cause of abolition was long ugly, especially for this celebratory moment. But Douglass rejected empty politeness. Then came the most striking and lasting words of the speech. The race to which we belong were not the special object of Lincoln's consideration. Douglass declared to the ages, "My white fellow citizens, you are the children of Abraham Lincoln. We are the best, only his stepchildren by adoption, children by forces of circumstances and necessity." I repeat, Douglass declared to the ages, white men, fellow citizens, you are the children of Abraham Lincoln. And we are at best, Douglass says, only the stepchildren of the adoption children by forces and circumstances of necessity. But one of those stepchildren was lecturing the nations and its leaders on that April day. To you, he told whites in the audience, belonged to the prime responsibility of honoring Lincoln. Then he implored them to let the stepchildren have their place in the commemoration, despite not the humble offering we this day unveil. He pleaded, for while Abraham Lincoln saved for you a country, he delivered from a bondage, according to Jefferson, 1 hour of which was worse than ages of oppression your fathers rose in rebellion to oppose. Although blacks' faith in Lincoln, who had tarried long in the mountain, had been sorely tested, Douglass found a middle way, a historically balanced resemblance of Lincoln, a remembrance of Lincoln in this new monument of national trial. Through a comprehensive view and the stern logic of events and a view of the divinity that shapes our ends, he said blacks, despite grief, bewilderment at the president's slow actions, concluded that the hour and the man of our redemption has somehow met in the person of Abraham Lincoln. And in Douglass' analysis, historical circumstances had in the end made Lincoln the head of a great movement. Most important, Douglass used a refrain that formed the argument of the speech. Under his rule, he repeatedly declared all manner of great change came about. Slaves were lifted from bondage to self-aware liberty. Black men exchanged rags for Union soldiers, uniforms to 100,000 marched in the cause. The Black Republic of Haiti received recognition. The domestic slave trade was abolished, and a slave trader hanged as a pirate and a murderer. In the Confederate States, based upon the idea that our race must be slaves, was battered to pieces and scattered to the four winds. And under his rule, the immortal paper, the Emancipation Proclamation, emerged, making slavery forever impossible in the United States. In the words of one ethnic group, never again, never again.